the workbench tonight I have a Panasonic PV V4535 VCR. This unit here would have been manufactured, I'm just looking for the date on here, and it looks like it was 2005. This is probably one of the last VHS hi-fi VCRs that Panasonic made. And I have no idea what's going on with this one. I was given the unit. I don't know if it works or not. We're going to take it apart and take a look at the build quality of this thing and see if there's anything wrong with it. To disassemble this unit, there are 2 screws, one on either side, and 2 more screws in the back. Unlike some of the other Panasonic machines of recent vintage, I'm thinking the 2002 series, they're all plastic with just a metal top. This one here, the whole unit appears to be all metal. It's an entire metal base, metal cover. So we'll find out whether the build quality on this is any higher than the last one I looked at, which was the 2002 model. I haven't seen one of these yet, so this is my first look inside one. Looks to be pretty simple in here. Let's take a look at the components. So we have our capstan motor here. We have our pinch roller back here. We have our supply and take-up side, the P2 and the P3 guide. This is the P1 guide. This is the back tension that operates the back tension brake. We have our audio control erase head down here. We have the full erase head over here, and we have the head drum. And like the other model, the motor is actually the rotor assembly. The stator is this little circuit board here with the 3-phase coil, and the rotor assembly is right on the top. So a rotary transformer will be on the bottom side here. It's a single circuit board design. There's no separate power supply. As you'll see, the power supply is actually part of the main board. It's a standard switching power supply. Let's just plug this thing in and see whether it actually even works. So I've got a couple tapes here. I've got my color bar tape and a tape that I can record on. I have the remote control for this unit. I'll just power the unit up. It does power up. I've got a blue screen now on my test monitor. The front panel display is lighting up on here, which is a good sign. This unit might even work. As I say, I was just given this unit and I was asked to dispose of it, so I may have scored a perfectly good VCR. So the tape loads, which is a good sign, and the tape plays. There it is. Remote control even works. Play, forward search, play. Oh. Reverse search. Back to play. It's pretty slow at changing modes and stuff. That's a crease in the tape, by the way. Stop, we'll go into full fast forward. Stop, rewind. Stop, and play. Well, it looks like our heads are contaminated on this unit here. As you can see here. How well that shows up, but it looks like our heads do need, well, now our head's clogged up completely, so we're gonna have to clean the heads on it if nothing else. Let's just eject the tape here. Very cheap front loading mechanism. This is all plastic, so that is something that would break very easily. I'm just going to take a piece of paper and just get some alcohol on the paper. And we'll just hold that against the head drum and turn the head counterclockwise. And as you can see, that head was really quite dirty. We'll take a Q-tip, correction, cotton swab. Don't want to give the Q-tip company any unnecessary credit, and we'll use that to clean the audio control head, which is this one right here. And looking at this does not even have an erase head for the linear audio. They eliminated the erase head. All prior machines, you still have the full track erase head over here. And we'll also clean the guideposts on this thing as well. Of course, the capstan shaft and the pinch roller. Now, if that's all there was going to be to this video, this wouldn't be much of a video. We want to show you what this thing actually does underneath the cover here. So we're going to tear this thing down. And, oh, ouch, be careful, it's sharp. I didn't cut myself, but the edge of this thing is like a razor. So if you're working on one of these machines with these stamped steel covers, be very, very careful. This edge here is exceptional. I don't know how I managed to not cut my hand, but it's exceptionally sharp. To remove the front cover, release these little catches here. And there's a couple more on the side here. So there's one down here, and one up here, and that one there. And one more over here, and the front cover should just lift off. There's probably a couple more catches on the bottom. Doesn't appear to be, but oh yes, there are. You got to release two more catches up here, one on either side. Push in and push the front cover off. Okay, now we've got the front cover off this machine. We're going to remove the actual mechanism. The mechanism is held in place by, it looks like 1, 2, I'm looking for a third screw. There's got to be a third screw, three screws it looks like. I think there's just 3 screws. So we'll just take out the mechanism here, and I do have the power turned off at the source. But be sure you have it unplugged or shut off before you do this, because you have live power here. Lift out the 3 screws. And the chassis should just lift up and out. One thing that got in the way was a little alignment pin, which I kind of broke off, which was that little plastic pin that was sticking through here. Don't forget to disconnect your head drum and your audio head from the circuit board when you lift this out. And your loading motor plug. And then the chassis should just, oh, we got 1 ground screw that I have to remove here that I missed. So here's this ridiculously simple chassis. They do get simpler, believe me. This has got to be the most basic VHS chassis that I've seen yet. Here's our rotary encoder switch down here, and it's going to line up with that big slot there, I think, on the side of the cam gear here. Alignment wise, this thing's going to be probably a breeze. Again, I haven't seen one of these units myself, so this was the first time I've actually opened one of these up. So let's just study this thing and take a look and check out the operation of this thing. When the tape goes in and the catches are released on the tape, the loading motor turns the main cam gear. I just have to release the little catches on here so that it can go down, and that pulls the tape basket down. It's being driven through this cam gear here, which drives the front loading. So this cam gear here is what drives the cassette loading mechanism through this gear here, which is what lowers down. This gear's got a shaft that goes across the back here, so that the two tape arms here are operating. As you can see, when I rotate this gear counterclockwise, you can see that it pulls this cam gear back, and that raises the cassette up. And back. So if we take it down, as the cam gear continues to rotate, it starts to move the main slide cam over, and as that moves, you can see that, I'm going to zoom the camera back a bit here, you can see that as this gear moves, as this cam gear continues to turn, it moves the main control arm assembly, which pushes up the tape guides through two more gears that are underneath here. We want to take a look at this mechanism to see how it works. Let's rewind, or let's eject everything. So we'll pull the mechanism back, turning counterclockwise, and that will bring up the cassette assembly. Probably has to be up this way so that gravity doesn't interfere with it. There we go. Otherwise gravity is going to work against you. If we want to take out this front loading mechanism, I would take out a couple screws here. So let's just do that. So we can take the front loading mechanism off and take a look at the front loading mechanism off the chassis. I think that should lift it out. Maybe not. I'm almost scared to take this thing apart. And we slide this back, it should lift out. Now this is the side that's driven. So we lift it out and the whole front loading mechanism lifts out like that. So now we can see the fan gear here. This gear meshes with this gear down here. This is the gear that operates the front loading mechanism back and forth, and it's just a gear with a shaft on it. And when it's back all the way, it's in the eject mode. There's a little mark right here, and that probably lines up with, I'm gonna say it probably lines up with that mark there on the loading gear. So when the front loading mechanism is in place, there's a little timing mark right there. And I think when this thing's in position, we line it up, it's going to drop down in here with that last tooth is going to be pointing at that last groove right in there. You see? There's our alignment mark. So we know that our front loading mechanism is timed with the rest of the mechanism. So let's just take the mechanism apart again. So now we've got the front loading mechanism out, we can look at the rest of the chassis here in detail. Okay, we've got our supply side and our take-up side. That's driven by this little pendulum gear and clutch assembly. If we want to take a look at the clutch assembly, let's just turn that over. If we take off the belt, we should be able to, by removing this cut washer here, we should be able to take a look at the clutch assembly. Find my little small screwdriver that I just had a minute ago. There we go. If we lift this cut washer out, we can now lift off the clutch. See that there's a spring on here. This is the slip clutch. How this works is when the unit is in play, the torque is distributed through this slip clutch assembly. When it goes into fast forward, this cam here will lift, or this little lever, the main cam here will operate through this little raised cam on the main slide cam. Will raise this gear up, as you can see, like that. There's a spring that pushes it down. That will mesh these splines here with these teeth on the edge of here, and that gives you full torque for fast forward and rewind. Let's take off the main cam. There's alignment holes here. This alignment hole actually goes down through the chassis. If we look through here, you can see that screwdriver will stick right through the chassis. That's your normal, that's your home position. That's stop. That's important to know, because this hole here will also line up. This hole here will also line up with a hole directly below it. I don't know if you can see it on camera or not, but trust me, directly below here, there's a hole, as you can see. If I point the screwdriver through there, you can see that that's coming through here. So now you know that's where the alignment is for the main cam. This is most important if you're doing an alignment. So let's take the main cam gear off here. And there's also another alignment hole on the loading gear here, which will line up, and you can actually put your screwdriver through there. There's a hole through the chassis. These are the alignment holes that are all lined up when the mechanism is in the stop position, full eject position. If we remove this cut washer here from the main cam, we're able to then remove the cam gear. Now you can see how the slide works. The slide cam pushes back and forth. And that's what controls the mechanism. That controls the switching of the clutch here for fast forward and rewind torques, and for playback and record torques. And also, this cam also controls the brakes, and it moves the guides back and forth. On the bottom of this cam, you'll see that there's a groove here, and that pin rides through that groove. So you have to make sure that you're lined up with the alignment hole where you put the cam on, or you put the cam gear on, so that that pin is riding in the control groove. If you miss it and your alignment is out, you're going to have parts breaking everywhere. There's another cam that rides along here that controls this little lever here. This is the brakes, and that's controlled through also from the main cam. If we want to tear this thing down further, if I want to take out this gear, for example, I can pop out this little clip here. We'll just pop this lever up here, and it should lift up, and then I can show you the clutch assembly. There we go. So this lifts out like this, and this is the clutch assembly, and it's just a little metal clip that goes into a groove down here. Does need to be lubricated from time to time to prevent wear. We'll just set that aside here. I'm not going to bother to take out this gear here, but you see what it does. It just controls this pendulum on this side here. I'm debating whether I should take out the main cam or not. There's not really much underneath here. There's a couple of little gears under here. I can pop out this cut washer here and take this main slide off. Oh, come on. It's a cut washer. It's just giving me some trouble here. It's fighting me. There we go. Okay, that one's off. So now we should be able to lift up this main cam and watch all kinds of parts go flying. No, shouldn't be any parts that go flying here. This should just lift up. Something is holding this cam gear down, and I don't know quite what it is. I don't see another cut washer. I think it's just pried in behind this metal clip. Pretty sure that's all it is. It's just pried in behind this metal clip. Yeah, that's it, all it does. And that's what the main cam looks like. It controls this lever here, which is for the, I believe that's for the back tension. Nope, that's for the pinch roller. So this lever here actually pushes the pinch roller in place to go into play. That rides into this groove here. As you can see, here's what controls the guides. It's just a pin. Looks like it's a pin that rides in. There's a couple little teeth right down here. If we look at this a little closer, there's a couple little teeth right down in here that mesh up with these teeth. That mesh up with these teeth here, and that pushes it. It pushes it, and then I think it hits this cam and pushes it up all the way like that, or it just rides in these teeth. Anyway. We'll pull this back to the unloaded position. We're going to put this cam back in place again. Make sure that our alignment is correct. We have to align our hole here with this hole on the chassis, which is the stop mode. And this is actually, if you look on here, there's actually a stamp which tells you eject, etc., rewind, play, stop. Tells you what position lines up with the post here. So we put it down to eject. That'll line up everything, and we should be able to just push this thing in. It should just drop. Hopefully, it will just drop back in place. Push this little spring up out of the way so it'll lock into the to the mechanism. Make sure that our guides are all the way back and push it in place. And our guides move and our guides come back. No, it didn't. Something's not quite right. I know what's wrong. I can see what's wrong right now. My P1 guide is not in the right position. It's out. This has got to come back. And that is this lever here. Okay. I think I got the alignment correct. Now we'll see what happens when I go through the motions manually. Push it in place. There we go, and then bring it back. We'll try that one more time. I think we are okay. Just going to put my cut washers back on to kind of hold things in place here. So that I can work the mechanism through with the gears in place and so forth. We'll put our clutch back in here. And it just clips in. It goes underneath the gear here so that it can raise it up, and then one side of it clips in behind this little clip, and the other side pops down in front of here, and there's a little pin in there that will drop into a hole in the metal frame, like that. So now that's in place. If we move the mechanism, as I slide the cam over, that goes into place, and okay, yeah, it does. It's working. It's going into play. There's play. It's just stiff because I'm compressing some springs here. As I come back the other way, we'll release the pinch roller and unload the mechanism. So that is good. And our alignment will go right down through the chassis and come through on the side. So that's good. Our alignment is good there. Now we can put this clutch back together, and we can put the cut washer back on here to hold that one in place. Now we just have to worry about the main cam. We've got our alignment back here. We know that that's correct. We have our front loading mechanism lined up with its alignment hole, which is right down here, directly below the chassis here. Then we just have to put our main cam gear on, again lining up the alignment hole. And lining up this other alignment hole. So that one's lined up, that one's lined up, and that one's lined up. So now we are in time. Our mechanism is properly timed. I can put the last cut washer back on that holds my main cam gear in place. And now when I turn the main cam gear, everything should work as it's supposed to. If I can get my cup washer to stay on, I'll be happy. So as I turn the cam gear clockwise, it loads and it goes into play mode. And as I rewind it or reverse it, it unloads. And in eject mode, our alignment is through that hole. So that's our mechanism is realigned on this thing. Now we can put our belt back on, and this unit is ready to have the front loading mechanism reattached. Our front loading mechanism, we align it by hooking in the two little catches here into the holes on the chassis. One is there and the other one is over here. They just go in like that and that. And that will align our gears here. Bring it back. I'm off by but there we go. Why is it not down all the way? There. Now it is. That's better. Now we can put our screws back in to hold the front loading mechanism in place. It's always a good idea when you put a mechanism back together to go through the paces by hand before you put power to it, because if something is jammed, putting power to the loading motor with the amount of torque that can be generated through that worm gear, even though there is a clutch here, you notice that this has got a clutch on it to limit torque, still there's enough torque that can probably break apart. So we're just going to push the mechanism in by hand. I'm just going to release the little catch. There's a little catch on the front here. When a tape goes in, it pushes that lever forward, which is what releases that little lock that stops the mechanism going in. So I release that little catch, and then I can turn the cam gear, and you'll notice that the front loading mechanism will drop down like that. And as I continue to turn it, the mechanism will turn, and it will load the tape guides. Now we're in the fully loaded position. And if we look at the top side of the mechanism, when I turn it the opposite way, you'll see that the unit will unload the tape guides. It pulls the pinch roller away first. The tape guides start to move back. The tension arm comes out of place. Tape would completely unload, and as it continues to rotate, it ejects the tape. Now we'll put this unit back together. As always, when you're working on a machine like this, if you've got it apart, it's probably a good idea just to clean the mode switch. This switch is going to be one of the ones that you have to take it out to do it, because there's inside here there's a couple little pins, little claws that are holding that thing together. I don't want to break it, so I'm just going to get my contact cleaner. We'll just lift it up a bit here and we'll just give it a shot of cleaner. And then we'll just spin the switch. So we again drop the mechanism in. Our mode switch is all the way to the right here, so that's going to line up with the cam gear. So we're just going to get our audio control erase cable through, or flat cable through. Of course, don't forget the ground wire that has to be reconnected. There are different length screws. replug the loading motor and the head drum, and also the audio control head. At this state, we can actually plug it in and test it. I don't have to put the front panel on it just yet. We'll connect our audio and video cables and turn on our power. And I'll just grab my color bar tape. We can load it. And it goes in. And it threads up. And the unit plays. Yeah, this tape's got some damage to it. That's it. So now we can eject the tape. That's just that's a scratch in the tape that you see there. You can see it, a line here. That's a scratch in the tape. That's actually what I've been trying to use my finger against the head to try, against the tape, to try and clear a clog on a head. And when you do that, of course it'll clear the head, but it's going to ruin your tape. So if you follow my procedure where I actually held my fingernail up through the back of the tape to clear a bad clog, well, that will clear a bad clog, but it will actually put a scratch on the tape, as you can see. See the scratch here? So don't do that on a tape that you value, because you will trash your tape. Turn off the power again so I can put the front panel on. Front panel, you have to lift it up here because this little front flap has to go in over top of that lever. So we just line it up. And it should just clip right in place. Just like that. The unit is now ready to have the top put back on it. That'll connect up. Now this thing here, of course, being an analog device, it's only going to work with an analog source. It's not going to work with digital TV. But I have an analog system here in my house. I have some analog channels, so we're going to go through the programming of this thing. I'll just put the camera up here, and I need the remote to do that, which I have. I'm just going to find I think it's action. Is it action? I forget which button we press to control this thing. Oh, there we go. Set up VCR. Set up channel. Select. Antenna. It's not a cable. It's TV. Auto set. So it's going to go through and it's going to do this. And it's going to pick up my local channels here. And once it picks up the channels that are on my private cable system, we'll make a quick test recording and play it back and make sure everything works. Okay, once it finished the setting the channels, it's going to try and set the clock, which is never going to happen because there is no time signal here to set. Now, channels. Where's my channel buttons on this thing here? My XBMC is shut down. Oh, that's right, I had a power failure. So I have a few channels that I can pick up. That'll work. Okay. That's just my media player displaying some pictures. We'll just put a cassette in and we'll do a recording on here. Just gonna turn that down. I actually turned on my scope clock just so that the fan would drown out any music that might be playing, so that I don't get hammered for copyright. So here we go. We'll make a quick recording of this. Stop it. Play it back. Rewind. I erased something that was on the tape. Oh well. Not something I'm sure I don't already have. There we go. There's the playback. I know you're only seeing half of a picture on the camera because of the rolling shutter effect on these CCD cameras, but there we go. It's fixed. It's back together. Not that there was anything wrong with it other than I took it apart to show you guys how to do the alignment and stuff on this machine, but there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you in the next one.